This week, the Environment programme will be flying to the Maldives in the heart of the Indian Ocean. We'll be seeing how tuna is caught by using industrial vessels and that the local population is trying to cope with their traditional fishing methods. Then we'll be going into orbit around the Earth, where the environment close to our planet has become a real dump. For 40 years, tuna has been caught like this, with the help of huge nets which catch everything in their way. Tuna has become more and more scarce. And traditional fishing methods? Today in the Maldives, an ancestral fishing technique is pushed to the forefront in a film by Greenpeace. The Maldivians mainly fish by pole and line. It's a technique we have used since the old days. And I believe this way of fishing does not affect the stock, which is also why we use this technique. If we were to use nets, it would only last us a short while. Such a method would decrease the fishing day by day, which is why I prefer to fish by pole and line. Fishing in a sustainable way. The technique consists of attracting the tuna to the surface with icy water and small bait fish that the fishermen attach to their line. Only the adults are caught. A certain quantity is sent to a fish processing plant upon which the region depends. But it's difficult to compete with prices because less fish caught means that the tuna is more expensive.
We hope that people in other countries will realize that we are doing something for the sustainability. We hope that one day people will realize how hard it is to catch one by one. And we hope that one day people will pay more for our fish. But today, the reality is we get the same price as per seine fishing and pole and line fishing. There is no difference. So we are hoping that we will get something more for this. If not, in the end, we will have no choice. If we want to run the factory, if we want to do this, we have to go for what everyone else is doing. Just go for the percent.
There's obviously a price to pay for sustainable fishing methods, and preserving the environment demands a change in mentalities. By targeting consumers, Greenpeace would like to inform of the methods that should become a priority. At the end of January this year, something rare and exceptional happened above our heads. What was it? Well, for the first time in space, a dead satellite, left abandoned for several years, collided with a functioning telecommunications satellite. Space is one more place affected by the impact from human activity. The collision between Cosmos and Iridium was awful. It was an impact at 40,000 kilometers per hour, 38 kilometers per hour in relative speed. The two objects were probably pulverized into pieces of various sizes. You have to imagine a handful of nuts and bolts and debris. Today in space, there are more than 18,000 objects of more than 10 centimeters. 300,000 of less than 10 centimeters, and around 35 million of less than a millimeter. For over 50 years, man has been using space without worrying about the rubbish left behind. You can find almost anything, and it's getting worse. In some orbital zones, in particular around 800 kilometers in altitude, there are so many objects that they regenerate themselves through collision. And this regeneration is faster than the orbital cleaning. Even if we completely stopped using space and sending anything into space, the number of objects in these zones would continue to increase rapidly. And these zones are crucial for observing the Earth and understanding climate change, for example. If nothing is done, within a century, man will no longer be able to use these orbits. What we don't realize is that up there, the tiniest little object very quickly becomes an instrument of destruction with vertiginous strength. Here's an example with this little ball.
This is an aluminum sphere of 1.2 centimeter diameter, and this aluminum sphere was fired at a solid aluminum block at a velocity of 26,000 kilometers an hour. And if you do this, then this tiny object here will cause such a crater. So what one tries to do is improve the shields in order to increase the shielding capability from 1 centimeter upwards. And the other thing is we try to improve the observations to reduce the tracking threshold from 10 centimeters further down.
So the space agencies are trying to trace and anticipate this debris with the help from radars and telescopes on land. Since 2006, 2 orbital zones have been declared areas of heritage of humanity. From now on, each rocket stage must be emptied of its fuel to avoid any accidental explosion. But this isn't enough. The mark of man is now almost irreversible in this environment, once intact. But how many collisions will it take before something is done? We've inherited a problem that goes back a long time. Nevertheless, we're sure that it's still not too late. So we must act now and find technical solutions that can be financed and go there. Otherwise, in continuing to use these orbits in the long term, we'll really have a problem of sustainable development. If we don't act, they'll be doomed. From disintegration by laser for the smaller objects to forced deorbiting for the satellites, numerous cleaning projects are being studied. The cost is sure to be astronomical, so who will pay?